And welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. This is episode 100. Can you believe it? Can you believe that I have done 100 episodes of podcasts? I mean, I can and I can't. When I did my first episode, I was completely shocked that I'd even managed to do that. So to know that I've done 100 episodes just over 2 years later, I'm super proud of myself. And I'd like to really thank you for listening to the Mum Boss Method podcast. We didn't start as the Mum Boss Method podcast. We started as the Female Confidence Coach, but it evolved. So I thought I would share with you for this episode my reflections after 100 episodes of this podcast. But I thought I would start with a few statistics that I think are really fascinating. So over 100 episodes, I have had over 4,600 downloads. I've got listeners from Europe, from the US, from Germany, from Portugal, from Australia and from Canada, amongst other places. 9% of my listeners are in Luton. Hello, Luton. 3% of my listeners are in Watford. Hello, Watford. 2% in St Albans and 1% are from my hometown of Bournemouth. Hello, Bournemouth. My top episodes, so I just picked my top 3. So apart from my very first episode, which obviously would get the highest number of listens, but I Can't Get No Sleep, which was episode 2. I've got episode 5, which is I Lost My Mojo with my good friend and previous client, Jenny Barling. And then I've written down here episode 2, but it can't be episode 2. Hold on. I think I Can't Get No Sleep can't be episode 2 because episode 2 was Ditch the Diets and Slimming Clubs. And so I Can't Get No Sleep must be another number, but I'll link it in the podcast notes anyway. So I just thought they were really fascinating things. I am loving those little stats. I'm a bit of a numbers geek. I like looking at all of the numbers. I like looking at the data. So that's been really interesting for me. And I have got some really kind of top level. I've got 8 things that I want to share with you that are my reflections after 100 episodes of this podcast. And when I was writing them down, I was so surprised at the connection that they have with weight loss. So I'm going to share this with you now. And as I go through and give you some of these examples, I'm going to share with you the connections that I've found. So number 1 is progress, not perfection. Now, you will have heard me say this time and time again. And my example from recording podcasts is that I used to stop and start my recording constantly if the dog made a noise, if someone made a noise in the house or someone made a noise outside, or I said something wrong. I would stop the recording, I'd start again, I'd cut that bit out. And then I'd redo it. I would spend hours writing a script for my podcast. I then spent hours editing it, and it took way longer than it needed to. And it wasn't fun, which meant it became a bit of an afterthought and something that I did if I had the time, which I very rarely did. So when I stopped trying to make it perfect and just tried to improve each episode, it got so much easier, and it did improve, and it stopped being such a chore. So I can relate this to fat loss because there is no such thing as perfect, and so often you are so busy trying to have the perfect day and the perfect workout and get your calories absolutely perfect that you are making this harder for yourself. Okay, you are making this more difficult, and therefore you're not making progress. Okay, that links into point number 2, which is about consistency. So because I didn't make recording and creating these podcasts easy for myself, I didn't do it consistently. So there are periods in this podcast where there are huge gaps where I didn't record an episode. Okay, now actually in 2023, I've recorded a podcast every week except 1 week, which was half-term week. And I just hadn't pre-recorded an episode for that week, and I took the week off, so I just didn't. I've maintained my consistency through this year with this podcast because I've made it easier for myself and I've made it more fun, and therefore I have remained consistent. And what I've seen as the results is audience and download growth, and I've also had more followers from the podcast on my social media accounts. People have found me on Instagram, and I have signed clients from my podcast. This means that my podcast is getting more popular, it is helping people, and therefore I am so much happier with that. That's just amazing for me. And relating this to fat loss, weight loss, consistency is the absolute key here. So it is no good being good in speech marks Monday to Friday lunchtime and then completely going off track. Okay, that's no good, because you will not get results, or your results will be very slow. And so consistency is super important. That is what will get you the results. Okay, number 3 is about keeping it simple. So as I've said, I used to make this really difficult for myself with all the editing and the stopping and starting, but I also used to try to cover complex topics and record for an hour and think everything had to be brand new. All of the content had to be brand new every time and full of facts and figures. And actually, the facts are the facts, right? I've said this before, that most people that do my job do it in a similar way or do a similar thing. So calorie deficit is what gets you fat loss, but I do this differently in that you get me coaching you. I apply my methods and my way of doing things from it. But the facts are the facts. You know, it's important to eat protein. It's important to move your body. It's important to eat fruit and vegetables. So actually, I can explain these facts using my simple style with my client stories, and that's what I've started doing, and that's seen me even better results. And so I want you to keep your weight loss simple. I want you to, not overcomplicate this, not to add loads of rules and regulations into your dieting. Try not to layer on keto plus fasting plus not eating after 6 plus this workout and that workout. Keep it simple. That's what wins. Okay. Number 4, the basics work. So for me, picking a topic, talking about it, sharing my perspective, my examples, how it works for my clients, the challenges that they have and how they overcome them. I would have normally, years ago, 18 months ago, I would have stopped the recording then and restarted that little bit. It doesn't need to be flashy with all singing, all dancing features. Yes, I come here prepared. I've written myself some notes, but it doesn't have to have flashy editing. It doesn't have to have flashy graphics, a flashy intro. I come here, I have some notes, I record, I share the podcast. And the same goes for fat loss. When you want to lose weight, the basics work. Eat in a calorie deficit, move your body, get protein, get fruit and vegetables, recover and rest well, and try to manage your stress. They're the important things. Okay, number 5, planning is key. So I used to record and release my podcast as and when I had the time to. Sometimes I might record 2 in a row. Sometimes, as I've already said, I wasn't very consistent, so I might not record one for 3 weeks. And often I would only record one when a topic came to my head. So I might plan that topic 10 minutes before. I'd still write a full script in 10 minutes, but I might just plan it 10 minutes before. Now I plan weeks in advance. I try to plan about 6 weeks in advance, and I'm working on planning even more in advance. There's still flexibility in that. So if a topic comes up as being really important and really super current in the industry, I'll flex things around. I might even release a midweek episode if I've already recorded all of my episodes. But planning in what those episodes are, planning in when I'm going to record them, planning in when I'm going to edit them, if any editing is needed. Mostly it's just taking the videos and having those to play with and releasing them as well. Then scheduling them into my podcast app and making sure that all of the blurb is written. The same goes for your weight loss. Okay, planning. If you lack planning, you are going to fall down. If you just try to fly by the seat of your pants on a daily basis, you will overeat, you will probably not eat enough protein, you'll miss meals, you'll get really hungry, you'll hit the button. Okay, so taking time to plan at the beginning of your week or the end of the previous week is really key. What have you got going on that week? What are the busy days? What are the days you need a quick dinner? What are the days you've got to go into the office and you need a packed lunch? What are the days you need help with the kids? What are the days that you've got events after work? Planning ahead and planning accordingly is the route to success. Okay, number 6 is have fun. I can't bring my best self to this podcast and give you great content if it's not something I enjoy. And honestly, when I was going through a bit of a difficult patch with the podcast and I was struggling to find things to talk about and I wasn't planning it and I wasn't being consistent, it wasn't fun, it was a chore. Now, because I am more organised, I'm keeping it simple, I'm doing all these things I've told you about, I'm having so much more fun with it. I bring guests on that I enjoy talking to. I talk about topics that I know are useful. I get feedback on the podcast from other people that I know they find really useful. And the same goes for your weight loss. So the way that I link this is you still have to live your life. You know, if you've got 2 stone to lose, that could take 6 months, that could take a year. I don't want you to cut out all fun from your life because that's not what life is about. You still have to have fun. You still have to enjoy your life. Don't restrict things. Don't become antisocial just because you're trying to lose body fat. You still have to incorporate your life. You need to make your diet fit around your life, not the other way round. Okay, moving on to the last 2, and I'm going to say number 8 is the most important, but firstly, number 7, getting others on board. So I just mentioned this a little bit. I bring guests on. I try to have at least one guest a month who is going to really bring value to my audience, someone that I enjoy talking to, someone that I know you're going to get great knowledge from. And I love those guest chats. They're brilliant. They give so much insight, a different perspective, a different voice to listen to for my audience. It must break things up a little bit. I know when I've got regular podcasts that I listen to and I love the people that I listen to, but I love it when they have someone else on and it's a conversation as well. And having someone else to listen to. And so the way I relate this to you is bring other people on board to support your journey. Have a conversation with your partner. Have a conversation with your kids if they're old enough to understand. Have a conversation with your social circle, with your work group, with the people that you surround yourself with, and get them on board with your journey because it will make life so much easier if they are on board with it. Just like getting guests in at least once a month for me means that's a topic where someone else is talking about their expertise. That's 1 week a month. I don't have to think about the content. And then number 8, and I swear this is the most important one, don't hit the fuck it button. I'm sorry if you're listening to this while you've got children around. There is an explicit language warning on this podcast. So just like dieting, I could have hit the fuck it button when I missed a few recordings or a few weeks, or I didn't see my downloads go up, or, I was inconsistent. And like I say, for a while in 2022, I probably did hit it for a little while. And I think I went a good, something's telling me I want to say 12 weeks, but I think it was probably 6 weeks where I just didn't record an episode. But by hitting the button, how is that making my situation better? By just scrapping the whole podcast, how am I making the situation better? How am I progressing? And it's the same with fat loss. If you eat a takeaway and you overeat, and then you drink half a bottle of wine and a donut, okay, you've gone over your calories. But if you just hit the button and say, well, I may as well carry on for the rest of the week, you are doing further damage, rather than just drawing a line under that one meal, that one, situation where you've gone over and gone, right, I'm going to make the next decision a better decision. I'm going to make a next decision on track with my goals. Then that's the better solution, okay, rather than just completely hitting the button. And this is one of the biggest reasons people fall off of their dieting journey, is because they go over their calories and they hit the button and they say, right, well, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore, I've ruined it, I may as well carry on ruining it. And I could have done that with this podcast, and I didn't. And I am so glad that I didn't, because I get so much joy out of knowing that other people enjoy listening to my podcasts. So they were my 8 takeaways, reflections on 100 episodes. I would love to hear what resonated with you. I was really surprised, like I say, that so many of them are linked to, or all of them I can link back to weight loss. So let's just recap on them again. Progress, not perfection. Consistency is key. Keep it simple. The basics work. Planning is also key. Have fun with it. Get others on board, and don't hit the fuck it button. I would love for you to share this episode. It's my 100th episode. It would mean a huge amount to me if you would share this and get my downloads up to 5,000. I'm so close. The more people that hear this, the more traction it gets, and the more I will be motivated to bring you awesome content every week. And maybe we'll get some even better guests on. Not that my guests haven't been awesome, they have been amazing. So thank you for listening to 100 episodes of the Mum Boss Method podcast. I really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week. Bye.